Hello, for this video we'll be doing past exam questions which are from the last couple of years, past exam ZIMSEC questions, mostly directed on real numbers. So I've extracted some questions from ZIMSEC papers but that cover real numbers. So as a recap from the notes, if you'd like to have a deep dive or better explanation of some of these topics, there is a playlist with lectures / tutorials or notes which cover the subtopics which are under real numbers, which is the first chapter in the ZIMSEC syllabus. So that's covering number concepts, approximations and estimations, ratios, rates and proportions, ordinary and standard form, number bases, scales and simple math problems. So in this video, I'll mostly try to work out the questions in a fast manner or sometimes with a shortened explanation. But if you want then the deep dive or in-depth explanation to some of the concepts or where then the theory comes from or how to work out certain questions, you have to go to the videos that are in the playlist where each of the topics is explained. There are examples and notes and more explanations about that. So Manje, just a recap. So some of these questions are in paper 2 ZIMSEC, some of them are in paper 1. So as a reminder, paper 2 you're allowed to use a calculator. Paper 1 you're not allowed to use a calculator. So these screen grabs can show you at least what's allowed in the exam paper. So then when we do a paper 1 question, remember that you have to know, for example, how to do certain multiplication and division without a calculator. Whereas in paper 2, at least that is available. So most of these are going to cover the part of the 2000s and 2010s. And then there'll be separate videos which covers the 2020s. So yes, again, past exam papers, but not full papers, just the questions that are selected that cover real numbers. So the first question is from November 2026, paper 1, which says, from the set of natural numbers, write down the first prime factors and the first 3 square numbers. So that's number 1A. Again, a recap on prime number. A prime number is a number that is divisible by 1 and itself only. So the first three prime numbers, that will be 2, 3, and 5. That's a solution. Then the next question says, that's part 1. Part 2 says the first 3 squared numbers. So that'll be 1 squared, 2 squared, and 3 squared, right? Because those are the first 3 numbers. And that'll be 1, 4, and 9. So then the answer is 1, 4, and 9. Okay, then the next question, which is B, says express 980 as a product of its prime factors. So, okay, here we can write it on this side. (980) is a product of its prime factors. So this is covered in the topic which deals with lowest common factor and highest common lowest common multiple and highest common factor. So again, we put 980. So the lowest factor, which is a prime factor, is 2 in this case. So 2 into 980, that's 490. 2 into 490, that's 245. And the next one will be 5. 5 into 245, that's 49. And 7 into 49, that's 7. 27, that is 1. So then that means that 980 is equal to 2 times 2 times 5 times 7 times 7, which is the same as saying 2 to the power 2 times 5 times 7 to the power 2. And that's your answer. Great. Then the next question says, three brothers aged 36, 24 years, and 18 years share 5.2 million in the ratio of their ages. Write down the ratio of their ages in descending order and in its simplest form. So first thing to note, descending order, which means highest to lowest, and then this is the ratio of their ages, and then we're supposed to put them in simplest forms. So we're supposed to find highest common factor and then minimize that. So again, their ages are 36, 24, and 18. They're already in the descending order. Now we need to find the highest common factor of those three, which is 6. So now that means that we have 36 is to 24 is to 18 divided by 6 divided by 6 divided by 6. That's how we simplify it. 6 into 36, that is 6. 6 into 24, that is 4. 6 into 18, that is 3. So that is the ratio. And the question says, calculate the youngest brother's share. Youngest brother is this guy. So youngest brother's share, that will be 3 over 6 plus 4 plus 3, right? Of the total amount that they were sharing, which was 5.2 million, right? And writing that in a more simplified version, that'll be 3 over 13. Because 4 plus 6 is 10 plus 3, that's 13. Times, I'm gonna write this out in expanded form. That's what it becomes, 5.2 million, 5,200,000. And then simplifying that, remember this is paper 1, so no calculator. 13 into 13, 1. 13 into 50 into 52, that is 4. And then 0, 400,000 times 3, that's 1,200. Sorry, yes, so then that becomes 1,200,000, which is 1.2 million. Okay. And then the next question says, express 99.996 correct two decimal places. So we have 99.996. Our two decimal places are number 1, number 2. So now that means we are looking at 6. And 6 is greater than 5. So we have to round up. To two decimal places, by adding 1 to this 9, when round up, it becomes 10, and then because it's a bunch of 9s, it adds up in a cascading order, so we get 100.00. Remember, you have to have the two decimal places, so the zeros after the comma actually matter in this case. All right, then the next question, number B, says, giving your answer in base 8, simplify 123 to base 8 minus 52 to base 10. So the first thing is change 52 base 10 to base 8. So how we do that, if you can go to the video, if you don't know how to do that, there is a video on number bases. So we write we have the base, we have the number, and we have the remainder. So the base is 8. That's what we're getting. We're taking it from base 10, so it's just 52. 8 into 52, that is going to be 6. Remainder 4. 8 into 6, that is 0. Remainder 6. Reading it upwards, That means we have 64 base 8. So this was number 1. Number 2 is the subtraction. So for the subtraction, we have 123 to base 8 minus 64 to base 8. Again, 3 minus 4. That is improper, so then we borrow a 1 here and add an 8 there. 8 plus 3, that's 11 minus 4, that is 7. Again, 1 minus 6, borrow a 1 here, then here it becomes plus 8. That's going to be 8 plus 1, 9, minus 6 plus 3. So now our solution is going to be 37 to base 8. That's the answer. All right. For this one, we have not yet done the topic, at least on 11A, but 11B, so 11A is not part of real numbers, but 11B says the actual distance between two towns is 240. So this is the real distance. On a map, the town is 30 centimeters apart. Map. Find the scale of the map where n is a whole number. So we have 30 centimeters representing 240 kilometers. So the thing to do is to change kilometers to meters and then to centimeters. So when you think about it, kilometers to meters, you multiply by 1,000, meters to centimeter, you multiply by 100. So in the end of the day, we end up having 240 times 1,000 times 100. Then we end up with 24 million. Okay, great. So putting back the scale, we have 30 centimeters are representing 24 million centimeters in real life. So divide both sides by 30. There we go. That will be 1 is 2. 3 into 24, that is 8. And then the bunch of zeros, it's going to be 800,000. So that is the scale. Perfect. Number 15. So it says in 2002, the cost of a new luxury car was 254 million. First question says, write down 254 million in figures only. Million has 6 zeros. So 254 and 6 zeros. Okay. And then B says, hence express that in standard form. So again, we have 254 million dollars in standard form. Again, not that we're going to have our comma there and we are moving to the left. So we have the comma moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 places. So then we end up having 2.54 times 10 to the power 8 dollars. That is the answer.
So C is then asking if if a company bought 8 such cars for its directors, calculate the amount in billions of dollars the company spent on the cars. So that's going to be 8 times the price of one car, which is 2.54 times 10 to the power 8. And since this is a paper 1 kind of question, 10 times, sorry, 10 to the power 8, 10 to the power 8 times 8. So 4 times 8, that's 32, carry 3. 8 times 5, that's 40, plus 3, 43, carry 4. 8 times 2, 16, plus 4, that's 20. And then 1, 2, 1, 2, 10 to the power 8, which is going to be equal to, they said in billions. And billions is 10 to the power 9, so that just means that this comma moves only once. Then we end up with 2.032 times 10 to the power 9, or 2.032 billions. Okay, then this is a paper 2, so you can use a calculator in this question. So the first one is trying to see your application of board mass, because it then says 5 and a quarter minus 1 and 2 over 3 times 2 and 1 over 10. Evaluate that, giving your answer is a mixed number. So again, mixed number, which means a whole number and a fraction in its lowest terms. So that part is also critical things to know. So according to the rules of form, there's six brackets of multiplication and division before addition and subtraction. So we add those brackets and make that into improper fraction, the whole equation. So 5 times 4, 20, plus 1, 21 over 4, minus 1 times 3, 3 plus 2, that's going to be 5 over 3, times 10 times 2, 20 plus 1, 21 over 10. So 21 over 4 minus 5 over 3 times 21 over 10. 5 into 5, 1. 5 into 10, that's 2. 3 into 3, 1. 3 into 21, that is 7. So that's going to give us 7 over 2. Right? So now we have 21 over 4 minus 7 over 2. Lowest common multiple is going to be 4. 4 into 4, 1 times 21, 21. 2 into 4, that is 2 times 7, that is 14. 21 minus 14, that's 7 over 4. But the question asks us to leave it as a mixed number. So 4 into 7, that's 1. Remainder 3 over 4. So that's our answer. Then, then the next part of the question, part B, is not, what can I say? It's not under real numbers. So we'll skip that. And then 7B is the one under real numbers. So a geographical globe has a diameter of 48 centimeters. A miniature model of the globe has a diameter of 8 centimeters. Calculate the surface area of the model. So again, we have model and we have the globe, right? We know that the globe has a diameter of, model has a diameter of 8, while the globe has a diameter of 48 centimeters, right? Simplified that by 8, that's 1:6, right? But here we are asked to find the surface area. Of the model. So surface area of the model, area of a sphere, right, is 4 pi r squared, and we know that it's going to be 4 pi times r in this case, the model, we know that it's 8, which is the diameter divided by 2. That's going to be 4 squared, right? So it's going to be 4 pi times 4 squared. So that's going to be 4 times 4 squared, which is going to be 64, times pi. That's going to be 201.06 on. Then to 3 significant figures, because usually you have to report to 3 significant figures. 201 centimeters squared. That's the area of the model. Part 2 now is the one where we say, it says on the globe, the map of Zimbabwe occupies an area of 23.04 centimeters squared. Calculate the corresponding area on the model. So again, for our scales, we have model and globe. We found that it's 1:6, right? But now we need to find the area scale. We square both sides such that we have 1 centimeter squared on the model will be representing 6 and 6, that's 36 centimeters squared on the globe. So we know that on the globe, if 36 centimeters squared is going to represent 1 centimeter squared on the model, what about if we have 23.04 centimeters squared on the globe? We want to find on the model. So that's 23.04 centimeters squared. We're going to expect less. So by proportion, you then end up with 23.04 over 36. And once you simplify that, you get 0.64 centimeters squared. Remember, this is paper 2, so you can use your calculator to derive the answer for this. And then we go back to paper 1 from November 2008. It says simplify. The first one is 6.3 times 1.1, giving your answer as a decimal. So we have 6.3 times 1.1. Okay, then we have 0. 1 times 3, that's 3. 1 times 6, that's 6. And then next we have 0.1. 1 times 3, that is 3. 1 times 6, that is 6. And then our 2 decimals. And we get that up, and then it's going to be 6.93. Then the next question says, giving your answer as a common fraction, find 2 over 3 minus 3 over 4. Again, the lowest common multiple between 4 and 3, the denominator is 12. 3 into 12, that is 4, times 2, that is 8, minus 4 into 12, that is 3, times 3, that is 9. And then we simplify that. 8 minus 9, that's minus 1 over 12. Right? Then part B says, find 5% of 130 meters. So that's 5% times 130 meters. Divided by 10. And then we end up with 5 times 13, that's 65 divided by 10, which is going to be 6.5 meters. Great. Number 2A, evaluate 554 base 6 times 305 base 6, giving your answer in base 6. So we don't have to change bases in this case. So it might be easier to put the bigger number on top. To base 6 plus 54 to base 6. Again, if you want more explanation of how we add or subtract numbers in base form, that's included in the lecture on the YouTube playlist on number bases and the real numbers. So 5 plus 4, that's going to be 9, which is 2, sorry, yes, 9, oh sorry, 5 plus 4, that's 9, minus 6, that's going to be 3, and then you add a 1. 1 plus 5, that's 6, so that's going to be minus 6, that's the remainder is 0, plus 1 on the next one, then 1 plus 3, that's going to be 4. So it's going to be 4, 0, 3 base 6. Part B says convert the number 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2 to base 3. So how do we go about that first? So we do from base 2 to base 10 first, and then to base 3. So taking it to base 10, we have 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, base 2, right? So that means that this one is to the power 0, to the power 1, to the power 2, to the power 3, and to the power 4. Expanding that, which is going to be 1 times 2 to the power 4 plus 0 times 2 to the power 3 plus 0 times 2 to the power 2 plus 1 times 2 to the power 1 plus 1 times 2 to the power 0. Okay. 2 to the power 4, that's 16, plus 0 times 8, that's 0, 0 times 4, that's 0. Then 2 to the power 1, that's 2 times 1, that's 2, plus, I can just write the 0 so that you remember that. Okay, plus 2 to the power 1, that's 2, plus 2 to the power 0, that's 1 times 1, that's 1. And then 16 plus 2, 18 plus 1, that's 19. To base 10, right? And then now changing it to base 3. Again, you have your table where you have the base, the number, and the remainder. So we have 19. We're taking from base. We're taking to base 3. 3 into 19. That is 5. Remainder. Sorry, that's 6. 18. Remainder 1. 3 into 6. That is 2. Remainder 0. 3 into 2. That is 0. Remainder 2. And then reading it bottom up, we end up with 201 base 3, and that's the answer. Then the next question says, given that 94 times 152 is 14,288, find the value of n if 95 is 152. Find 95 times 152 is equal to 14,288 plus n. So we have 95 times 152 is equal to 14,288 plus n. We're trying to find n, but we know that 95 is the same as saying 94 plus 1, right? Just as something that we know. So now that's the same as saying 94 plus 1 times 152 is the same as saying 14,288 plus n. Expanding this is saying 94 times 152 plus 1 times 152 is equal to 14,288 plus n. And from the question, we know that this, at least from what we're given here, that's 14,288 plus 152 is equal to 14,288 plus n. So when you look at it, 152 is equal to n. So that's how we find it. And then the next question said, remember this is paper 1, so no calculator, is a reminder. So we have 0.094 times 1,520. Again, this is mostly to remind you of standard form, right? And operations in standard form. So again, we have, from the question, we know that 94 times 152 is equal to 14,288. That's what we're given to start with. And now we're being asked in this format. So we have to put these in this format, right? Because that's what we know. So 94. So 0.094 is the same as saying 94 times 10 to the power minus 3 times 152 is the same as saying 1,520 is the same as saying 152 times 10 to the power 1, right? And then we know that what we know is 94 times 152 times 10 to the power, multiplying when we are now expressing in standard form is the same as subtracting. Sorry, it's multiplying, so we add to the power 1 because we now have 10 to the power minus 3 and 10 to the power 1. We add the powers, so that means that it's going to be 94 times 152 times 10 to the power minus 2. But this we already know what it is. It's 14,288 times 10 to the power minus 2. Expanding these two times to original format, that's going to be 142.88 in ordinary form. And then part 2, B part 2 said, now we have 0.14288 divided by 0.0094. Again, what we are given is 94 times 152 is equal to 14,288. Otherwise, without a calculator, this will be tricky to do. So it's the same as saying now, if we divide both sides by 94 and then by 94, that's what they are basically. So we'll get 152, right? So we know that part. So we're now trying to see. So we also know that based on this, 148,288 divided by 94 is equal to 152, right? So now how do we implement it in this case? So we change this to standard form, which is going to be 14,288 times 10 to the power. Let's see how many times would have moved the comma. It would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 10 to the power minus 5 divided by 94 times 10. Let's see again how many times we move the comma. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's minus 4 when we divide. So we know that this is the same as what we have here. So we know that we're going to get 152 times 10 to the minus 5 minus 4, which is going to be 152 times 10 to the minus 1, which is 15,2. And that's the solution. All right. Next it says write 0019 in 12-hour notation. So this is 19 minutes past midnight. In 12-hour notation, that's just going to be 019. And then part B says Tapio and Natai share some money in the ratio 2:5. So we have Tapio is to Natai. That's 2:5. Given that Tapio's share is 620,000, so we know that Tapio is getting 620,000. Calculate Natsai's share, right? Great. So we know that Tapio is 2/7 and his share is 620,000. What about Natsai, who has 5/7, right, of the pi or fraction or ratio? Then that's going to be more, and then that translates to 5/2 times 620,000. Simplify that. 22,1, 26,3, 22,1, 31 times 5. 1550, 1, 2, 3. So that's going to be Natsai's share. 1,550,000. Okay. The next question says, given that m is 4 times 10 to the power 6 and n is 2.4 times 10 to the minus 3, giving each answer in standard form. So that is key, standard form. Calculate mn. So this will also be covered in indices, but it was also covered in standard form. So mn just means m times n, which is 4 times 10 to the power 6 times 2.4 times 10 to the minus 3, right? So again, if you just want to do the calculation of the multiplication first, times 4, since this is paper 1, no calculator. 4 times 4, it's 16. 6 remainder 1. 4 times 2, that's 8 plus 1, that's 9. Then we have 1 decimal. So that's going to be equal to 9.6 times 10 to the power 6 plus minus 3. Then that's going to be 9.6 times 10 to the 3. Part B says n over m. Again, in standard form. So n is 2.4 times 10 to the power 3 divided by 4 times 10 to the 6. So 4 into 4, 1, 4 into 2, that's 0, remainder 2. 4 into 24, that is 8. No, that's 6, sorry. So then we have 0.6 times 10 to the power minus 3 minus 6. So that's going to be 0.6 times 10 to the power minus 3 minus 6. That's minus 9. But then we need to move this decimal there to make it properly standard form. That's going to be 6 times 10 to the minus 10. Okay, great. The next question says, the scale of a map is 1:1,000,000. Find the length in centimeters of a line on the map which represents a rod of 160 kilometers. So we have map is to real. So we have 1:1,000,000, so centimeters. What about when we have 160 kilometers? That's what we're trying to find, right? So there are two ways to go about it. Either change kilometers to centimeters or change the centimeters in the scale to kilometers. So in this case, 160 kilometers to centimeters. Again, times 1,000 to meters, then times 100 to centimeters. Then we end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 16 million centimeters, right? And then we go back to the proportion to say then 1 is to 1 million in real. What about in reality when we have 16 million centimeters? How much centimeters is that on scale? That's going to be more. So that's going to be 16 million over 1 million times 1. The zeros cancel. And then that's going to be 16 centimeters. Right. Then it says the actual, I'm going to write it here. The actual area of a piece of land which represents by, so map area is 2.64 centimeters squared. And we need the answer in kilometers squared. So we need to find area scale. So for the distance scale, we have 1:1. Yeah. Which is the same as saying 1 centimeter represent 1 million centimeters in reality, right? So changing real to kilometers, right? So we have 1 million divided by 1,000 of changing from kilometers to meters, and then 100 of changing from centimeters to meters. So again, that would be 10 kilometers. So now our scale is 1 centimeter is to 10 kilometers. When it's now scale, we square both sides. When it's now area scale, then that would mean that 1 centimeter squared represents 100 kilometers squared area wise, right? So now we need to do the calculation, which is actual area. That's what we're trying to find, right? When we were told that, we know that from the scale 100 kilometers squared, no, sorry. We know that 1 centimeter squared represents 100 kilometers squared. what about when we have 2.64? So 2.64 centimeters squared, we're going to expect more, which we invert 2.64 over 1 times 100, and that's going to be 264 kilometers squared. And that's the answer. The next question says, during a sale, a shop reduced all its prices by 20%. Calculate the original price of an article which was sold during the sale for 440,000. Okay, so if original is 100%, then its sale, that's going to be 100% minus 20%, right? Which, if it's 100% of an original value x, then this is going to be 80% of the value of the original value x. So we are told that selling price, it was sold for this much. So if 80% is 440,000, what about 100%? That's going to be more, right? So that will be equal to 100 over 80 times 440,000. 8 into 44, that's going to be 5. Remember 4, 8 into 40, that's 5. And then multiply that, that's going to be $550,000. That was the original price. Great. Then we have part B, which says, on a particular day, a bank bought British pounds at a rate of 1 British pound to $35,000 and sold British pounds at a rate of $40,000 per pound. Okay, so we have the buying rate with the British pound is to Zimbabwean dollar. So buying rate, 1 is to 35,000, right? 1 is to 35,000. And then we have the selling rate with the British pound is to Zimbabwean dollar. The selling rate is 1 is to 40,000. So take note of that, because then you have to know which one was being used for which instance. So the question then says, part 1, calculate the amount of, in British pounds, bought for 10,500,000. So the keyword is bought. So we're supposed to use the buying rate. So we know that if 35,000 was equivalent to 1 pound when buying, what about 10,500,000? It's gonna give us more, right? So again, that's going to be 10,500,000 divided by 35 thousand. 1, 2, 3. And then 5, 7, 5, 2, 5, 1, 5, 0, 5, 0. 7, 1, 7 is 21, that's 3. So that's going to be 300 British pounds. And then question number 2 says the amount in Zimbabwean dollars. So in Zimbabwean dollars received for selling 112 pounds. So now we use the selling rate. So now we use the selling rate. So we know that for selling, 1 is giving us 40,000. What about 112? We're expecting more. So that's 112 over 1 times 40,000. So since this is paper 1 and 40,000, you can use a calculator. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times 2. 4 times 2, that is 8. 4 times 1, 4. 4 times 1, that's 4. So in Zim dollars, the amount that they then sold for was 4,480,000. That's the answer. Alright. And then the next one, the next question is from a paper 2. So here you can use a calculator. The first question says, express 3 and 2 over 5 minus 2 and 13 over 20 as a single fraction in its lowest terms. So we have 3 and 2 over 5 minus 2 and 13 over 20, right? So putting these mixed fractions as an improper fraction, we say 5 times 3, that's 15, plus 2, that's going to be 17 over 5, minus 2 times 20, that's 40, plus 13, that is 53 over 20. And lowest common multiple between 5 and 20, the denominators, that's going to be 20. 5 into 20, that's 4 times 17, that's 68, minus 20 into 21 times 53. So 68 minus 53, that's going to be 15 over 20. Simplifying this further because it says in its lowest terms. 5 into 15, that's going to be 3. 5 into 20, that's going to be 4. So the answer is going to be 3/4. Okay, then the next question says, number 3a, in the diagram, the Sun, Earth, and Mars are in a straight line. It is given that the Earth is 1.496 10 to the power 8 from the Sun, and the Sun and Mars, and Mars is 2.279 10 to the power 8 from the Sun. So just write down, the first question says, write down 1.496 times 10 to the power 8 in ordinary form, right? So we have 1.496 and we add a bunch of zeros, and then we start to move the comma. So the comma is here, we're trying to move it 8 places to the right. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Then it's going to come there. So what that translates to is equal to 149,600 0, because it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. That's the answer. Then part B, part 2 says, write down in standard form the distance of Mars from Earth. So we have three things. We have Sun, Earth, and Mars. So just to see what we are given that the Earth is that from the Sun. So Sun and Earth, that's 1.496 times 10 to the power 8 kilometers. And then we are given Mars and the Sun, right? That's the next part. So Sun and Mars, so this distance we are given is 2.279 times 10 to the power 8 kilometers. And now we are trying to find this distance, Mars to Earth. Sorry. So that just means the difference between the two. So that means Mars to Earth will be equal to 2.279 times 10 to the power 8 minus 1.496 times 10 to the power 8. This is a paper 2, so you can put that in a calculator, and then you end up with a solution which is 7.83 times 10 to the power 7 kilometers. Great. Then going back, oh yes, it says now we're going to part B. It says that in a certain year, a paint manufacturer makes 27 liters of white paint with 9 liters of red paint to produce 36 of pink. 27 plus 9 is gonna give you 36. So at least that adds up calculation wise. If 1 liter of white paint costs that much, so white paint, let's start with white paint, see what we're given. Oh, sorry. We're given 27 liters at $36,800 per liter. And then we have red paint, and we have 9 liters of that. And we have the pink paint, which we got when we mix the white and red, and that is 36 liters. Let's read some more. So the average cost of the pink paint was $33,575 per liter. Calculate the cost of 1 liter. So when the cost of 1 liter of red paint. Alrighty. So we have 33,000 for the pink paint. 575 per liter. What we're trying to calculate is the cost of the red paint. So when we think about it, right, we know that white plus red is what gave us the pink. When we look at the cost, we know that we mixed, because that's average cost, 27 liters times, to find the total cost of what we'd expect. That's 6,800 plus red was 9 liters times, let's say, X, which we're trying to find, right? Cost per liter should give us the pink. And the pink is 36 times 33,575. Simplifying that with the calculator, we get 900 93,600 plus 9 times x, whatever rate the red pen is going to go for. 36 times 33,575 will be 1,208,700. This crosses the equal sign and subtracts, such that we are left with 9x is equal to 215,100. Divide both sides by 9, x is going to be equal to $23,900 per liter. That's the cost of the red paint. Perfect. Next one, it says 2 over 3 plus 3 over 4 divided by 1 and 1/6. So in this case, again, brackets of division and multiplication before addition and subtraction. So we first do the, we simplify on the numerator first, which we have 2 over 3 plus 3 over 4 over, then make the mixed fraction an improper fraction. 6 times 1, 6 plus 1, that's going to be 7 over 2, sorry, 7 over 6, right? And then on the numerator, we are going to find the lowest common multiple, which is 12. 3 into 12, that's 4 times 2, that's 8. Plus 4 into 12, that's 3 times 3, that's going to be 9. Everything over 7 over 6. Simplifying that, 8 plus 9, that's going to be 17 over 12 over 7 over 6. When you're dividing fractions, you invert the one that's in the denominator and multiply. So that's going to be 7 over 12 times 6 over 7. 6 into 6, 1. 6 into 12, that is 2. So then we end up with 17 over 14, right? And simplifying that into mixed fraction, that's going to be 14 into 17, 1, remainder 3 over 14. And that's the answer. Then the next question says, express the ratio 20 minutes is to 1 1/3 hours in simplest form. So here, change our 2 minutes. So that's going to be so for 1 1/3 hours is the same as saying 1 plus 1 over 3 times 60, right? Which is going to be 60 plus 1 over 3 times 60. 23 1 into 60, that's 20. So that's going to be 60 plus 20, which is 80 minutes. And then the next bit will be the ratio, right? Because we're trying to express the ratio in simplest form. So again, we had 20 is to what we now know as 80 minutes. Divide both sides by 20. Then we have 1 is to 4. Is the final solution. Right. Part B says 2 partners, A and B, share their profits from a business in the ratio 5:3. Okay. So that's A is to B is 5:3. You follow the order of with which they were mentioned. So we are told that if B received, so we don't know what A received, but we know that B received 4,800,000. So now we're trying to find A's share. So again, in fraction, we are saying if B will be 3/8, because that's the total of the ratios, is 4,800,000, and A is 5/8. What is that value, right? It's going to be more because 5 is greater than 3. So then that's going to be 5/3 times 4,800,000. 3 into 3, 1. 3 into 4, 1 remainder 1. 3 into 18, that's 6. Then times 5, that will be 8 million dollars. Great. So that'll be A's share. Number 7 says, express 5 squared plus 3 times 5 plus 4 is a number in base 5. So in base 5, we just need to group things that have the powers of 5 to each other. So again, if we're going to do bases, we're going to start with 5 to the power 0, 5 to the power 1, 5 to the power 2, right? And in this case, 5 to the power 2 is being multiplied by 1. So it's going to be 5 to the power 2 plus 5 to the power 1 is 3 times 5 to the power 1 plus 5 to the power 0 is multiplied by 4 because 5 to the power 0 is going to be just 1. Therefore, the answer is just, then we look at the numbers themselves. So we have 1, 3, and 4. So the answer is 1, 3, 4 to base 5. Part B says, now we have to put the number in base 8. So to put it in base 8, we go from base 5 to base 10 first. So expanding that, we have 5 squared plus 3 times 5 plus 4, right? So that will be equal to 25 plus 15 plus 4. 25 plus 15, that's 40 plus 4, that's 44. And then after that, we do base 10 to base 8, right? So again, we have the table where we have the base, the number, and the remainder. So we have 44 is the number. The base we're taking it to is 8. 80 into 44, that's 5. You'll be 40, right? Remainder 4. 8 into 5, that's 0, remainder 5. Then reading it from the bottom up, that'll be 54 base 8. Again, if you want more in-depth explanation of how to do computations or expressing numbers in different bases or calculations in different base formats, there is a video on the channel which deals with notes on number bases and more examples from the textbooks and just general more in-depth and detailed explanations. Then the next part says a rectangle measures 10.2 by 7.1 centimeters. Correct to 1 decimal place. Find the minimum possible perimeter of the rectangle. So if we had this rectangle, right, and we're trying to visualize it, the longest side would be the 10.2 and the width would be 7.1. So we want to find the perimeter, which is going to be 2 times L plus 2 times W, the width. So remember, this is corrected to 1 decimal place. So minimum length will be equal to 10.15. because if we round this then to one decimal place, then we get 10.2. Minimum width will be equal to 7.05, because if we round this then we end up getting 7.1, right? So now perimeter, the minimum possible, will be equal to 2 times length plus 2 times width, right? So that'll be 2 times 10.15 plus 2 times 7.05. Then that gives us 20.3 plus 14.1. Add that up, we get 34.4 centimeters. Is the minimum possible perimeter. Again, there are more in detailed explanation on when they ask you about minimum dimensions, correct to a given number of decimal places in the notes under real numbers. Okay, great. Then we have this one which says convert 3/8 to percentage. Remember, this is paper 1, so no calculator. So 8 into 8, 1, 8 into 3, 0, remainder 3, 8 into 30. Oops, sorry. So we have to have 3.8 as a percentage, which is going to be times 100, right? So that's going to give us so 8 into 8, 1, 8 into 3, that's 0, remainder 3, 8 into 30, it's going to be 3, and then remainder 6, 8 into 60, that's going to be 7, remainder 4, 8 into 40, that's going to be 5, then times 100, that's going to be 37.5%. And then part 2 says 9% is a decimal, so that's saying 9/100, right? 100, 100 into 9, 0, remainder 9 into 90, 0, remainder 90, and then 100, that's 9, so that's going to be 0.09. Great. Then the next question says, the following is an extract of Mrs. Green's telephone bill for the period of 1st of March 2006 to 31st of March 2006. We have rental, we have the units of electricity, telephone bill, 117. Then we have subtotal and VAT at 15%, and then the amount due. So the first part says calculate X, and X is the rate, which is the cost per unit, right? How much cents per unit. So we know that 177 units are quoted to cost $7,965. What about 1 unit? That's going to be less, right? So that will be 1/177 times, so 7,965, and then we do the division. you end up with $45. But I think X is us pay in cents, so that's going to be 45 times 100, which is going to be 4,500 cents per unit. And then B, which is Y, so this is X. Y is VAT at 15%, so it's going to be the VAT 15% of the units that she uses, right, of what was charged. So that's going to be 15% of the 7,965, and then when you compute that, you get 1,194.75. So that's why. And then C is asking for Z, and Z is the amount due, right? So we're now adding the VAT to the subtotal of 9,965. So that's going to be 9,965 plus the VAT, which is 1,194.75, which is going to be 9, 5 carry 1, 11, 1, 11. So that will be $11,159.75. Great. Then the next question says, that's from November 2010, paper 2. Find the value of 1/3 plus 1/7/9 divided by 2 and 2/3. So that's going to be 1/3 plus, changing these to a mixed fraction, 9 times 1, 9 plus 7, that's going to be 16/9 divided by 2 times 3, that's 6 plus 2, that's going to be 8/3. Again, brackets of multiplication or division before addition and subtraction. So that's going to be 1/3 plus, we are dividing fractions, so you invert and change this to multiplication sign. 3/8, 3 into 3, 1, 3 into 9, 3, 8 into 8, 1, 8 into 16, that is 2. So you end up with 1/3 plus 2/3, and that's going to be equal to 1. And then B says, during a sale, the price of a camera was reduced from $160 to $148.80. Calculate the percentage in decrease in price. So what is the decrease? That's going to be 160 minus 148.80, and that's going to be $11.20. This is from paper 2, so you can use a calculator. So percentage decrease will be the decrease itself divided by the original price, which is 160, times 100%, which is going to be 7% decrease. Great. And then the next question is from June 2016, paper 1. It says, evaluate 1.4 plus 0.04. So 1.4 plus 0.04, that's going to be 441. 1.44. Then part B says 5 and a quarter divided by 3.5. Change the mixed fraction to improper fraction. 4 times 5, that's going to be 20 plus 1, 21/4. 3 times 2, that's going to be 6 plus 1, that's going to be 7/2. When you are dividing fractions, you invert and change the division sign to a multiplication sign. So 21/4 times 2/7. 2 into 2, 1, 2 into 4. That's 2. 7 into 7, 1. 7 into 21. That's going to be 3. So you end up with 3 over 2. And changing that to mixed fraction, that'll be 1.5. The solution. And then next it says express 31.095. The first one is two decimal places, right? So we have 31.095. When you look at the decimal places, this is 1 and 2. So now we need to look at the number, the third number, the decimal, which is 5, which is equal to 5. So we round up. So we end up with 31. Once we round up 9, it becomes 10. So it becomes 31.10. Remember, we have to keep 2 decimal places. So the 0 actually has to be there. And if you want to look more into decimal places and significant figures, there is a topic under real numbers in the playlist on this channel where I explain more and give more examples of how to actually put numbers to certain specified decimal places or significant figures, and notes and relevant notes as well. So then it says now to two significant figures, right? So we have 31.095, two significant figures. So significant figures in this case, we have 1 and 2. So now we look at the 0. It's less than 5, so we round down. So it's just going to get 31. Right. And then part B says 7 over 30 is a recurring decimal place. So we have 7 over 30. So this is paper 1, so no calculator. So 30 into 31, 30 into 7, that's 0, remainder 7. 30 into 70, that is 2, remainder 10. 30 into 100, that is 3, remainder 10. Into 100, that is 3, remainder 10. So if you can see this, it's starting to